cool and the... I'm totally, what, no? What? Is it Sister Sledge? Oh, I'm thinking of Celebration. Okay, goodbye. I'll see you later. I'm only the American in the crowd. I don't know my own culture. Okay, that's right, Sister Sledge. Okay. Forget I said that. Let's start over. So anyway, thank you, Pedro. So there's something else about We Are Family. That's also going to be our Pavlovian response. When you guys hear We Are Family, that's the sign to reconvene back here. Okay? Does that make sense? And you can dance on the way back if you want. That's totally up to you. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about our first speaker tonight. It's going to be Jonathan Bedford. I'll tell you a little bit about Jonathan. So he's got, and Jonathan also is in favor of We Are Family, right? Okay. He's pro. What? That was the Oscar music. Exactly. I got played off. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to thank my agent and all. So Jonathan has 25 years of sales marketing experience in IT and technology. Started his career at Hewlett-Packard, right? Securing leadership roles at GKN Aerospace and GXS. More recently, he spent 4 years with OpenText, leading the EMEA Business Network commercial operation and being a member of the global leadership team. Today, he leads SiteMinder's global commercial operation to drive net new customers and revenue growth through greater customer adoption of the company's full platform offering. In addition to his responsibilities for SiteMinder's PMS partnerships and reseller network, he guides and mentors the company's expanding is good, right, sales team, as they look to make a difference for the world's 1 million hotels. Jonathan holds a bachelor's degree in engineering with honors from Loughborough University. Please welcome to the stage, Jonathan Bedford. Go get him, sir. Yeah.
So probably the first thing to say is, can I hire you? Because I really like the idea of every time I walk into a room, I get a welcome like that. I'm going to write that up on my CV. Do you know what? It's really genuinely great to be here. I'm going to tell you a few little bits and bobs before we get into the meat of the presentation. The first thing is, put your hands up if you didn't know what shoes to pack for this trip, because for the last 2 years, Zoom hadn't had to worry about anything below there. Anybody there? Nobody's put. They're a tough crowd for putting their hands up, aren't they? Okay, let's try more with the basics. Stand up if you got in before 10 o'clock last night. Come on, stand up. Did anybody? 10 o'clock, come on. Well, thank you. That was a very honest response. And no, please stand. Please remain standing. 11 o'clock. Who was in before 11? Stand up. I can go all night, you see. These guys may drag me off, but I can continue. 11. Very responsible. This is also a really bad sign, isn't it? Midnight. Who was in before midnight? Okay, so this is the Cinderella crowd. Okay, the pumpkin wasn't quite there. 1 o'clock in the morning. Whoa! Okay. Please tell me no. There are people still sitting? I sense that I could say 5. You have not got the energy to get up. All right, 3 o'clock. Let's get everybody standing. Right, this is just so I wanted a selfie, frankly, and it was the only way I was going to get you all standing, wasn't it? So can we... Ready? Waves up. There you go. It was the only way it was going to happen. So thank you for all of that. I'll try to make this as interactive as possible through it. This is why I am going to try to click. Which button do I press? I'm guessing it's the next button. So look, genuinely, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me. It's so good to see everybody here. It was wonderful to be together last night. This business is really one of family. You're absolutely right. We have partners, ecosystems, members across this room. It was wonderful to see the last 2 years coming together. And really, I'd like to have the opportunity to thank you all for talking a little bit around SiteMinder and share our thoughts from our business. I'm going to spend the time talking about transformational growth through the rise of the platform. But first, I'm going to talk about my son. So this is my son on the left-hand side. I was yesterday heading out to come to the airport, and he looked at me and went, "What's that?" And it was this. my suitcase. I bring it up here. I'm spinning it a little too vigorously there. And he went, what's this? For those of you who have children, what's this is a big thing for children. Everything's what's this. He'd never seen a suitcase in his life. Growing up over the last couple of years, hadn't seen a suitcase. Now, this suitcase has been up in my loft for the last couple of years. I'm sure many people have also had their suitcase in the loft for several years. When I got it out of the loft, I held it, and I felt different. I felt different about the world that I live in. And it's that spirit of adventure I described to my son, that this is maybe just a physical thing to get me from A to B, but it stands for so much more. It takes me to places that I've never been before, and it exposes me to cultures, destinations, and the world. It's just so good to be holding this again. And I'm going to ask, how many of you internally, don't have to put your hands up, I will not embarrass you, how many of you thought the same when you held that suitcase, when you came out to this show? I suspect a lot more. He is looking forward to seeing me when I get back. I suspect he thinks I'm bringing Lego, which I may well be. So if somebody can help me with the Lego, that would be absolutely fantastic. But here I am. I've been given the exciting and daunting task to talk around 3 words: adapt, pivot, and grow. Thank you for that. You could not have given me a bigger task, Pedro. I appreciate that. You were in the bar when you came up with that, I suspect. It seemed a good idea at the time. Those 3 words could describe and be used in a conference within their own right. And I have to apologize, like our industry, I am also recovering from COVID, so apologies for if I cough or anything else. So to me, SiteMinder has really had to live these values over the last few years. I'm sure every one of us, over the last few years, we have had to adapt, pivot, and grow. Just really to make ends meet in terms of the complexities of the environment we're living in. Every day we had to adapt to new information as it came through, and we use these 3 words as the Bible within our business. As the whole of the global pandemic, which hit the travel and the accommodation sector, really came through. Every day we'd be adapting to new news, we'd be pivoting our plans and kept very much on focus. Staying true to our growth within SiteMinder, we were able to achieve some great things over the last couple of years. We still opened offices in Berlin and Barcelona. Fantastic to be able to expand the business. We're reaching 150 customers in over 33,000 countries and 33,000 customers. We've successfully listed on the Australian stock market, and last month we launched our next generation of hotel commerce platform. Things that we're really proud of. But you'll be pleased to hear I'm not here to talk about SiteMinder. I think the few of the SiteMinder crowd in the room will be probably most pleased to hear about that. What I'd like to do, though, is talk a little bit around the business that guides us all and really what we're focused on. Because ultimately, we are focused on our customers and our markets. And I want to talk about the growth in our industry that we all share. Our growth is inseparable from 3 keywords: the adapt, pivot, and grow. These are the prerequisites for growth within our industry. Transformational, dynamic growth is forged in unprecedented times. Put your hands up if you have heard the word unprecedented far too many times in the last few years. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of new words gone into the dictionary over the last years, I sense, in business. At SiteMinder, we champion this growth and have a firm conviction that it's what's necessary to strive today. And basically embracing technology to revolutionize the hotel industry. Moving from what was an largely undigitized footprint to being on par with retail and banking sectors, meeting the demands of our customers' omni-channel requirements. Our core belief is by realizing their full potential, accommodation providers can become the catalyst for travel growth in its entirety. I'll put my hand back on here because it sums it up. I put it on here and I wanted to travel. I wanted to find the opportunity to travel. I vowed to my wife that I'd go home and I'd book a holiday. We'd spend time away. Of all the things over the last couple of years I've missed, it's the prior 10 years worth of travel I wish I'd done. I'm sure many of us felt the same way. Those opportunities to travel really felt painful that we'd missed. Now I'm going to talk about growth. Now, I know many of you will be thinking, growth, really? Today? We're recovering from probably the hardest 2 years in the accommodation sector, and still today, we've got staff shortages, cost increases, and levels of uncertainty in the marketplace. But yes, I say there is growth, and the numbers support it. The SiteMinder World Hotel Index, based on our booking data sourced from our open commerce platform, shows that many countries such as Spain and Portugal have long surpassed their pre-pandemic levels, with international travel now a significant component of them. Moreover, UK, France, Germany, and Italy have also reached their 2019 booking numbers pre-pandemic from a combination of domestic and international travel, with also a focus on the business sector as well. Guests are also booking with greater confidence than ever before, very much before the pandemic, with these longer lead times. And that demonstrates that they have confidence in the market. They no longer feel the urge to book within 24 hours because of the changing market conditions. This is our new sense of normalcy. And funnily enough, last night, it really felt that. Normalcy, what an amazing word when it arrives. For me, the last month, we have received this normalcy. Things have suddenly become stabilized. 3 months ago, I was in Bunker, Oxford, waiting for the world to continue in its current guise. Today, I sit in front of 300 people and have the opportunity of meeting with many of you last night. I know this is going to be a fantastic couple of days where we're all going to share stories and thoughts from the last couple of years. But that normalcy has really arrived just as quickly as the pandemic, which is fantastic. It just goes to show that human nature wants to survive and thrive. As Herculitus once said, get this, I'm being deep and meaningful here, a man can never swim in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he is not the same man. In other words, things will never go back to how they were. They are changing. I think you also said the only constant is change. Obviously a smart guy. What we're seeing is an acceleration of the underlying trend that was already in our marketplaces. We were talking about this last night over dinner. The market has accelerated because of the pandemic and suddenly brought into sharper focus, a more urgent focus around some of these trends we were seeing. At the heart of this fundamental shift is the unstoppable march of technology and implications for our industry. But I'd like to look at some of the numbers first, and I'm sure some of you might be aware of just the sheer size and magnitude of the e-commerce revolution. According to analysts, e-commerce grew 30% in 2020, 20% in 2021, so 50% growth over a 2-year period. I'd like to say I did my fair share of that. For those of you who are familiar with the challenges of ordering on Amazon, you ordered so many things during the pandemic, you didn't even know what was being delivered, and at some point, everything became a lucky dip and a surprise. I'm sure many of you felt that and experienced that firsthand. More importantly, e-commerce is rapidly projected to be 25% of the global retail industry. Massive year-on-year growth within that sector. But it's not just the size of e-commerce, but also how the consumers are shopping. Today, consumers hop across multi-point, omni-channels, looking at social media, websites, apps, and stores. 73% of consumers visit multiple channels when shopping. I personally do. YouTube, I'll Google, I'll be looking at the manufacturer's website, I'll be looking at the retailer's website to make sure that I'm making the right decision, the informed decision. They look and expect a seamless, frictionless experience. Multi-channel consumers also spend 30% more and are brand advocates. So we need to generate multi-channel consumers within our industry. Those selling also gain significant success through multi-channels, increased revenue streams. This isn't just an online phenomenon. For those of you who did click and collect during the pandemic, you will also have seen a resurgence in this area and 62% growth month on month. Sorry, annually. And this really helps identify and drive that fusion between digital and physical space. I'm sure many of you have seen the quick codes on bars and restaurants. The hotel that we were in yesterday, you could see the menu by being online. Equally, I've just returned back from a business trip to Sydney, so I was one of those statistics on the previous slide. And in many restaurants now, because of the staff shortages, they've moved to an environment where you actually order online, pay online, and that reduces some of the pressures within the organization. Equally, social media has its part to play. Social media, mobile, becoming indispensable to our customers, to our consumers. 72% of customers favor a mobile experience. That doesn't shock anybody. Every one of us uses the mobile as the gateway tool for information. Last year, smartphones accounted for almost 70% of all retail website traffic. I love the phrase smartphones as if there's an alternative now. Perhaps I'll change that for future. That feels like it's something where I should be talking about facts at the same time. 90% of consumers would recommend a brand they follow on social media. We want to be advocates of brands. Twitter and Facebook users will also likely spend more money with the brands that they follow. Again, no surprise there. You're an advocate of that brand. Now, you might ask yourself, isn't this just retail? How does this impact the hospitality sector that we all serve? Well, the truth is, this is also coming straight through into the hospitality space. Travelers visit an average of 38 websites before booking a trip. Again, I very much always believe on a personal view, I should share some of my feelings about this. I spent 2 years looking at Disney World, and frankly, I visited it at least 38 times a week. So I might be skewing the numbers personally. Equally, a guest will visit 4 different touch points before making an accommodation choice. A majority will be using mobile devices. So customers are already there. Our guests are already out there. At SiteMinder, we know that a hotel marketed in 2 or more channels successfully will double the number of reservations. And 5 or more will grow the reservations by up to a further 40%. Channel distribution is critical for their success. In the face of all the e-commerce revolution, many accommodation providers from the 1 million properties globally are behind the curve when it comes to the consumer expectation. Many are focused on the day-to-day activities of staff shortages, rising costs, health and safety requirements, and also trying to manage and get those rooms full. So continue to focus on the day-to-day operation of the business. But neglecting this consumer reality of omnichannel commerce really has left an inefficiency and an opportunity in the marketplace. So the real questions are, what can they do to get ahead of the curve? Now, clearly, what do the hotels need to do? How do they do it? And where is the growth coming from? Are critical questions to be answered. I'm going to focus on the last one, just for a little bit of fun, keep you on your toes, which is really the rise of the technology itself. Over the past 2 years, we have seen rapid emergence in the hotel commerce technology space. The rise of these vast array of applications covering marketing, intelligence, services, reputational management, loyalty and upsell, and more. I'm sure you've all experienced these, and many of you interoperate within them. Only yesterday, again, I accessed the menu within the restaurant, part of that ecosystem where hoteliers are looking to leverage technology and use the technology stacks available to them to give a better experience to their guests. We've also seen a diversification in channels that guests look to book from, moving away from perhaps the traditional view and moving into how they can capture direct bookings on their own websites. Airbnb, the GDS platform for business travel, metadata, leveraging Google, and also regional OTAs. We've seen a real diversification of how guests' systems would operate and how customers would like to, our properties would like to connect to the marketplace. At the heart of the hotels need to evolve to meet guests' preferred behaviors. Staying ahead of its competition, we as technology providers must seek to help them provide better visibility, deliver targeted marketing with stronger conversion rates, greater monetization of the guest journey, higher guest satisfaction, brand advocacy, and the return of customers year on year. At SiteMinder, we believe that the platform is the way that we can truly deliver this. So, what is platformization? It's a hell of a word to get out in its own right. Really, before we get into how, it's really the question is, why do so many customers and businesses, why are they moving en masse to it? Luckily, Google helped me a little bit on this. But in essence, a platform really allows you to not think about, or rather put it another way, in most traditional terms, we think about companies competing with their own products and services. Platformization allows you to think of the ecosystem, and it allows you to think beyond your own products and services to the ecosystem of your partners and your partner services. And it allows you to think about your competitive advantage as part of that ecosystem, rather than just purely your own individual company's capabilities. I think Philip Kotler said it perfectly, and he's often known as the father of marketing, when he said, the new competition is no longer between individual companies, but rather between complex ecosystems which compete to obtain the best customer service and lowest cost. We see this today in many companies, Apple, Google, Amazon. Every one of you today will have a phone in your pocket where you have made a decision on an ecosystem, not just the device, but the ecosystem that it supports. Now, funny enough, I was in Sydney in our head office for the last couple of weeks, and I had the opportunity of meeting different crowds within our company. I met our sales team, who were predominantly Apple users. Why were they Apple users? They loved the user experience. It was simple, it worked. I went into the developers meeting, and funny enough, I asked the developers what they were using, all using Android, because they wanted that ability to control and customize their environment for their own use. Customers will make their decision on ecosystems, and we need to be thinking about those ecosystems. I would also say that last night was a really good ecosystem, and for those of you who were 3 o'clock, you definitely lived up to the expectations of an ecosystem there. Platformization, really what we're talking about here is still in its infancy. There is so much opportunity to grow the ecosystems out, grow out the platforms within our business. But we need to collectively own the vision of it. We can leverage the value of people who are already ahead of us in this race, within the retail space and the banking space, but we need to carve and forge our own future for transformation. What does this look like today? By allowing accommodation providers to design, implement, and manage a fully integrated commerce strategy, platforms can enable a true control of performance and place the future into the hospitality industry's own hands. Dynamic real-time data sourced through platforms can give hotels the ability to optimize rates across all channels whilst gaining new levels of insights. We can also look at big data through omni-channel commerce platforms. Hoteliers can get that extra edge, achieving a panoramic view of each guest rather than the siloed data of today. A platform should also stand for the future. It should be able to simplify connections to thousands of the highest ranking hotel software and experts, giving choice to control, growth, and destiny. Now, clearly there are barriers to why platforms and open systems haven't yet been established. We've thought long and hard about it, and there's 3 key reasons. Decision paralysis, friction, and inaccessibility. And we, as hotel technology providers, we have to resolve this. We have to remedy this, and we have to solve this for our customers. Decision paralysis in itself is one of the hardest things to overcome, which is this overwhelming feel that it's a difficult decision to actually make. I'd sort of describe it at a personal level as a streaming problem that I personally have on Netflix. If somebody gives me an hour, I will spend 45 minutes to judge what is not worthy of spending my hour with, and then, as a result, not watch anything. I'm sure people can probably recognize that decision. It is difficult to make the right decision. But with open platforms able to connect to wide ecosystems on new and existing platforms, it will mean that hoteliers can leverage their existing investments and technology, as well as benefit from the future vision. Friction. It's not just the guests who are omni-channel consumers, hoteliers are too. They expect technology providers to offer a seamless and quality journey through. However, they face fragmentation, friction, and experience when trying to connect partners together. In contrast, platformization offers the hotel technology free access to how to access platforms and create customized stacks from a vast ecosystem of partners. A lack of accessibility. Until now, many of the best and well-known platforms have only been available to the groups and larger space. Times have to change. We need to strive so that all platform access can be delivered to all hoteliers, no matter the size and location. Now is the time for the platform. This is why at SiteMinder we are evangelists for platform. We want to empower hotel commerce technology and to move us to the omni-channel era. When done right, hotel commerce technology will be transformative in the hands of the hotelier, helping them to be active agents of growth and development and drive for a sustainable industry. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to take a few questions, and I think we've got Sarah and Tina with the mics, right? So raise your hand if you have a burning question, and one of our microphone technicians will come over to you, and then Jonathan can address your question.
Question. I'm a little bit surprised because I just saw on one of your slides that still people are looking at 38 websites before they're booking. I know my conversion rates went up from 1% to 8-9% the last 20 years. So didn't that really change because people are a little bit sick of searching around and Google Meta made it possible to not look at a lot of websites anymore?
So you clearly perhaps a little bit bucking the trend in terms of the general statistics within the marketplace. But I believe that genuinely customers are still spending a lot of time looking and aggregating data across multiple sources. I'm going to talk from personal behavior now, which is when I look to make a considered decision. Like I say, I will look at the manufacturer's website or the property's website. I will look at different review websites. I will also look at YouTube videos, which will give me direct information from influencers. By the time you aggregate that data set up, it actually grows quite quickly. You'll also do price reviews. It's amazing how quickly you don't realize within 10 or 15 minutes, could potentially have looked at 15 to 20 different information sources. Now, if they are all consistent, then absolutely you will be more successful. Thank you. I have to say, it's awesome being up here, but these lights are stellar, aren't they? Yeah. They're quite awesome. I feel like the questions should be tougher to justify the lights that I'm facing.
I have a really tough question to justify.
No, you're fine. Well, look, in which case...
Is that good?
That's absolutely fantastic. Look, thank you so much for your time.
Let's give him a big round. Yes.
Thank you. Woo. Thank you.